Over 600,000 people go missing every year in the United States. Many children and adults are found alive and well, but some just stay gone. This is the story of the oldest missing persons case in Toledo, Ohio. This is Cynthia Anderson, and this is how she vanished. The disappearance of Cynthia Anderson has remained a mystery for 41 years. To better understand this case, let's take a road trip to Cindy's hometown of Lambertville, Michigan. We'll take a look at her family home and where she worked, the place where she vanished. If you ask, why do people go missing, you are usually given 5 reasons. 1. Mental illness. 2. Miscommunication. 3. Misadventure. 4. Domestic violence. And 5. A victim of crime. So where does Cindy fall among these reasons? How does a 20-year-old young woman vanish without a trace? For the family and friends of the missing, their grief is never ending. There is no closure, no goodbye, no funeral. Hope becomes their constant companion, the hope of seeing their loved one returned. It is that same hope that will not allow them to have a peace of mind. Every year that missing loved one doesn't walk through the front door. Every year they don't receive that phone call that begs to hear their voice one more time, or receive a letter that simply says, "I'm still here and I'm safe." Their hope begins to fade, but never completely disappears with their loved one. Now we are in Lambertville, Michigan, located just over the Ohio state line. It is home to about 10,000 residents. The small rural town is like thousands of others. And then on August 4th, 1981, the vanishing of one of its own, Cindy Anderson, would put it in the center of one of the most mysterious disappearances. The haunting case would seep quietly into town gossip. Theories would make the rounds, and friends and neighbors would ask the one question we're still asking today: how does someone disappear into thin air? This is where Cindy lived with her parents Michael and Margaret and 3 siblings. The family and Cindy's boyfriend were devout Christian fundamentalists. Cindy was known to be quiet, reserved, and obedient. Prior to her disappearance, she had planned to leave her job in a few weeks and attend Bible college with her boyfriend. Her sister said that no one knew of anything going on in her life that would make Cindy just up and walk away. But there were some changes that her family noticed that seemed out of character for the pretty 20-year-old. A year before she vanished, Cindy began having nightmares of being abducted and murdered. Her mother tried to comfort her, but the dreams continued to torment the girl. Her father noticed that Cindy started to pay careful attention to her appearance. She started to skip meals and spend more time styling her hair and applying makeup. The way that she looked was becoming of utmost importance to her. The day of Cindy's disappearance started out with what was now her new routine. She skipped breakfast with the family so she could have extra time preparing her hair and makeup. She left for work and traveled about 20 minutes over the border into Ohio, where she worked as a secretary for the law firm of Rabbit and Neller in Toledo. Let's head over to the strip mall where the law office was located that employed Cindy. Of course, all of this is very different from the way it looked in 1981. And it's important to note some very strange things that were happening to Cindy at work right before she disappeared. One thing we know is that her desk was in front of a window that faced the parking area, and from the window, Cindy saw writing spray painted on a wall that said, "I love you, Cindy," by G.W. So this incident, compiled with her nightmares, left the young woman distraught. The sign was eventually painted over, but returned back on the wall a short time later, but this time it was even bigger. To calm her fears, the attorneys told her to keep the doors locked at all times, and they installed a panic button under her desk. The button, if pressed, would alert the store next to the office if there was trouble, and then they would call the police. The other strange occurrence was a series of harassing phone calls. The day before Cindy went missing, a client was witness to 2 known calls. The client was so concerned, he asked police to check on her after he left. He was quoted as saying, "It looked like someone scared the hell out of her." So the day Cindy vanished, we know she arrived at work at around 8:30. She went about her usual routine of turning on lights, the air conditioning, and a radio. The paperwork for the day had been laid out on each attorney's desk, and a romance novel that she had been reading was later found opened and laying face down on a table. From eyewitness accounts, Cindy was seen in her office by several passers-by that morning. One witness reported seeing her at her desk at 9:45 a.m. This is the last time she would be seen before going missing. Attorneys Rabbit and Feldstein had been out of the office all morning and didn't come in until around 12 p.m. This is the statement the attorneys gave to police officers that were shortly called to the scene. The attorneys told the officers that they had found the front door locked as usual. The lights and air were on, along with a radio. They called out for Cindy and began looking for her. They looked for a note that said she was going out on an errand but couldn't find one, and the phones had not been put on hold. Cindy was a very responsible person, and she wouldn't have failed to do these things if she suddenly had to leave the office. The attorneys also noted that her purse and keys were missing, but her car was still in the parking lot. And for some odd reason, there was the smell of fingernail polish remover in the air. Police at once treated Cindy's case as an abduction. What really frustrated them was the lack of clues. There was no evidence of a struggle, her bank account had not been touched, and her social security number had not been used. Based on the fact that no phone calls were answered after 10 a.m., we can assume that Cindy disappeared between 9:45 when she was last seen and 10 a.m. when phone calls to the law office went unanswered. Several suspects, family, friends, employers, and even the janitor of the strip mall with the initials GW were all questioned. It was thought that the janitor was stalking Cindy, and he was the one that painted the message on the wall facing her desk. The janitor was also the only person other than those working at the law office with a set of keys to the building. But there was no evidence found to support his involvement, and he was never charged. 1 month after the disappearance, police received 2 calls from a frightened woman who claimed Cindy was being held by someone in a basement who owned 2 white houses that sat side by side. When police tried to glean more information from the jittery caller, she hung up and never called again. As the days, months, and years rolled by, leads dried up, and the disappearance of Cindy Anderson eventually became another cold case. All that really remains of the case are a list of theories, Police, gossips, and mystery sleuths have given their opinions over the years about what may have happened to the vanishing Cynthia. We'll take a look at some of these theories, and then I'll add some of my own points for you to ponder. Theory number 1. Attorney Richard Nuller found guilty in drug trafficking ring. One of the attorneys that Cindy worked for, Richard Nuller, was found guilty in a drug trafficking case and sent to prison along with one of his clients. Police theorized that Cindy may have overheard a conversation the attorney had with his client and killed Cindy to keep her quiet. Theory number 2. Serial killers Anthony and Nathaniel Cook. Two brothers, Anthony and Nathaniel Cook, serial killers, went on a killing spree from 1973 to 1981. The brothers committed 9 rapes and murders of mostly couples in the Toledo area. One theory was that Cindy was one of their final victims before their capture. Theory number 3. Possible runaway. Many people believe Cindy wanted to break free of her strict religious family and just decided to walk away. Theory number 4. Amnesia. Cindy's father thought she might have amnesia and couldn't find her way back home. After all the passing years, he hung on to this hope and refused to move away from their family home or change his phone number in case she was trying to find him. Theory number 5. An elaborate plan. Some people believe that the nightmares, the harassing phone calls, and the spray-painted message on the wall were all a part of an elaborate plan of Cindy's to make it look as if a stalker had abducted her, to throw police off her tracks so she could just disappear into thin air. One of these theories, or parts of all these theories, could be correct. Did Cindy walk away, or was she abducted? Is she alive or dead? These things are what make missing person cases so haunting. Now here are some points that I think are important in Cindy's disappearance. Number 1. Cindy's appearance. Cindy was giving extra attention to her appearance, so I think there may have been a new man in her life that she kept secret. Number 2. Fingernail polish remover. Upon returning to the office and finding Cindy missing, the attorney smelled fingernail polish remover in the air. Chloroform has a sweet citrus scent along with acetone. If indeed they smelled that scent, could chloroform have been used to abduct Cindy? Number 3. The missing person keys. The only missing things were Cindy's purse and keys. We can assume the keys were in her purse, so whoever took the purse probably wanted to lock the door on their way out so a client wouldn't walk in and see that Cindy wasn't there. This would give an assailant more time to flee the area with Cindy. Number 4. 2 points of exit. I don't know what the building codes were like in 1981, but I would think that there must have been a back door or a side door to the office in case of a fire. No one mentions this fact about there being 2 doors, so I would think Cindy either walked out a back or side door to a waiting car or was taken out and put into a waiting car, and that is why no one saw her leaving the office. Number 5. The harassing phone calls. Cindy never told anyone what was said to her during all the harassing phone calls she received. I find it odd that Cindy wasn't pressed by anyone close to her for more details, or that she didn't volunteer any if she were that frightened. It's also puzzling why a stalker would only call her at the office and not when she was at home. Number 6. A predator. My last point, which is just another theory to add to the many others, is this. I think there is a great possibility that Cindy met with foul play from a new man in her life. The fact that she was making changes in her appearance and always kept the doors locked leads me to believe she may have let a predator in that she was attracted to and felt safe with, and that one mistake has led to her disappearance and possible death. Unfortunately, all we have are theories and hope. We should never give up, and we should never stop looking for Cindy or anyone else who has vanished. If you have any information about the disappearance of Cynthia Anderson, call your local police department or the Toledo, Ohio Police Department at 419-245-3246. I would like to end today's episode by asking for your help. Please take a look at these missing people. If you've seen any of them or have any information about their disappearance, please contact your local police department. Melissa Nicole Garcia. Melissa was last seen in Columbus, Ohio on April 23, 2019. She was last seen wearing a red Reebok sweatshirt. Connie Louise Earhart. Connie was last seen September 6, 2019 in Elmwood, Ohio. There is a $1,000 reward for information directly leading to her location. Raja McQueen. Raja was last seen in Cleveland, Ohio on June 24, 2021. She may be driving a 2018 Nissan Sentra, license plate JGH3953. Kobe Daniel Rausch. Kobe was last seen July 5, 2020. His vehicle was located abandoned in Gallia County, Ohio. Randy James Michaels. Randy was last seen at Steel City Bar and Grill at 1418 East Midlothian Avenue in Youngstown, Ohio on May 15, 2021. Mohammed Abdi Hassan. Mohammed was last seen in Columbus, Ohio on July 28, 2013. He was last seen wearing black shorts, white vest, and a red shirt. He has recently had heart palpitations and anxiety, which required hospitalization. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Please take care and be safe. I will see you soon with another cold case. This is Eye on Justice.